Welcome to Learn English with Roast, where we focus on real conversations, fun learning, and daily English.
Today we are going to fix the exact mistakes that make your English sound weird, unnatural, and sometimes even confusing. Because the truth is not that your English is wrong. The real problem is that it does not sound natural to native speakers in real life.
Yes, and this is the biggest frustration for learners because you study grammar, you learn vocabulary, you understand everything, but when you speak, people still feel something is off. And that off feeling comes from small mistakes that most learners never notice.
So in this video, we are not just learning English, we are upgrading your speaking style from textbook English to real-life natural English that actually sounds smooth and confident.
And make sure you stay till the end because some of these mistakes are so common that almost every learner watching this video is making them right now without even realizing it.
The first mistake that makes your English sound weird is direct translation, where you take a sentence from your own language and convert it word by word into English.
This feels logical in your brain, but English does not work like that. And that is why your sentence becomes grammatically okay sometimes, but still sounds strange.
For example, many learners say, "I am having 20 years," which sounds correct in their mind. But in English, this sentence feels completely unnatural.
The natural sentence is, I am 20 years old, because English expresses age differently and does not use the verb having in this situation.
Another example is when learners say, "I did a party yesterday," which again sounds understandable but not natural.
A native speaker would say, I had a party yesterday, because have a party is the correct expression in English.
So the problem is not your English knowledge. The problem is your thinking pattern, because you are still thinking in your native language first and then translating.
And this is exactly what creates that weird tone in your speaking, even if your grammar is not completely wrong.
The solution is simple but powerful. Start learning English in phrases instead of individual words.
Instead of learning do, make, and have separately, learn real expressions like make a mistake, do homework, and have lunch.
The second mistake that makes your English sound basic and slightly awkward is overusing the word very in every sentence.
This is extremely common because very feels easy and safe, but using it again and again makes your English sound repetitive and weak.
For example, many learners say, "I'm very tired," "this is very big," or "she is very happy."
These sentences are not wrong, but they sound basic and do not create a strong impression.
A more natural and advanced way is to replace very plus adjective with a stronger word.
Instead of saying very tired, you can say exhausted. Instead of very big, say huge. And instead of very happy, say thrilled.
This small change instantly makes your English sound more fluent and more natural.
And more importantly, it makes you sound like someone who actually uses English in real life, not someone who just learned it from a textbook.
So today you learned that your English sounds weird, not because you are bad at English, but because of small habits like translation and overusing simple words.
And in the next part, we're going to expose more hidden mistakes that silently destroy your fluency and make your sentences sound unnatural without you even noticing.
If you are serious about improving your English, do not skip, because the next mistakes are even more powerful.
And trust me, once you fix these, people will start noticing a real difference in the way you speak.
Now let's move to the next mistakes that silently make your English sound unnatural, because these are the kind of mistakes that you don't even notice, but other people immediately feel when they listen to you.
Yes, and this is where many learners get confused because they think their sentences are correct, but the problem is not correctness. The problem is naturalness and flow.
The third mistake that makes your English sound weird is using the wrong preposition, and this is one of the most common problems even for intermediate learners.
Prepositions are small words like in, on, at, to, and for, but they completely change the meaning and feeling of your sentence.
For example, many learners say, "I discussed about the problem," which sounds logical but is actually incorrect in natural English.
The correct sentence is, I discussed the problem, because discuss does not need the preposition about.
Another example is, "She is married with a doctor," which again sounds understandable but unnatural.
The natural sentence is, she is married to a doctor because married to is the correct expression.
And one more very common mistake is saying, "I am good in English."
A native speaker would say, I am good at English because good at is the correct collocation.
So the problem here is not grammar rules, it is memory of patterns.
And the best way to fix this is not to memorize lists, but to notice how native speakers actually use these small words in real sentences.
The fourth mistake that makes your English sound strange is speaking too formally in casual situations, which makes you sound unnatural or even robotic.
Yes, because many learners learn English from books, and books usually teach full, complete, perfect sentences, but real life communication is very different.
For example, a learner might say, I'm going to the market in order to purchase some vegetables.
This sentence is grammatically perfect, but in real life, it sounds too formal and unnatural.
A native speaker would simply say, I'm going to the market to buy some vegetables.
Shorter, simpler, and more natural.
Another example is, I would like to inform you that I have completed my work.
In casual conversation, this becomes I've finished my work.
So the mistake here is not being wrong. It is being too perfect in the wrong situation.
And that creates distance in communication because real conversations are relaxed, not formal speeches.
The solution is to start listening to real conversations, movies, interviews, and notice how people actually speak.
You will quickly realize that natural English is shorter, smoother, and less complicated than what you learned in books.
So now you understand that even small things like prepositions and sentence style can completely change how your English sounds.
And the scary part is that most learners never fix these because they focus only on grammar, not on natural usage.
But don't worry, because in the next part, we are going to uncover more mistakes that make your English sound awkward and less confident.
And these next mistakes are even more dangerous because they directly affect your fluency and speed while speaking.
So stay with us, because your transformation is just getting started.
And by the end of this series, your English will not just be correct, it will sound real.
Now we are entering the level where your English does not just sound a little strange, it actually starts affecting your fluency, your confidence, and how people respond to you in real conversations.
Yes, because the next mistakes are not just about words, they are about how you speak, how fast you respond, and how naturally your sentences flow.
The fifth mistake that makes your English sound weird is speaking too slowly, because you are thinking too much before every sentence.
This usually happens when your brain is trying to check grammar, translate words, and build a perfect sentence at the same time.
So instead of speaking naturally, you pause again and again, and your sentence breaks into pieces.
For example, a learner might say, I am going to the market, which makes the conversation feel uncomfortable and unnatural.
A native speaker would say the same sentence smoothly without stopping. I'm going to the market.
The difference is not knowledge, it is processing speed.
When you overthink, your brain becomes slow, and your speaking loses its natural rhythm.
And this creates the impression that you are not confident, even if you actually understand everything.
The solution is to stop aiming for perfect sentences and start focusing on flow.
It is better to speak a slightly imperfect sentence smoothly than to speak a perfect sentence with hesitation.
You can train this by speaking daily without stopping, even if you make small mistakes.
Because fluency grows with movement, not with overthinking.
The sixth mistake that makes your English sound strange is using word combinations that are technically correct but not naturally used together.
This is called unnatural collocation, and it is one of the biggest reasons your English sounds off.
For example, many learners say, I did a big mistake.
This sentence is understandable, but it sounds wrong to native speakers.
The natural sentence is, I made a big mistake.
Because in English, we say make a mistake, not do a mistake.
Another example is, take a decision.
While this is used in some forms of English, the more natural and common expression is make a decision.
One more example is, strong rain.
A native speaker would say heavy rain.
So even though your words are correct individually, the combination feels unnatural.
And this is exactly what creates that weird tone in your speaking.
The solution is to learn English in chunks, not as single words.
Instead of memorizing vocabulary lists, learn phrases like make a mistake, have a meeting, and give advice.
This way, your brain automatically produces natural sentences.
And over time, your English starts sounding more real and less translated.
So now you can clearly see that fluency is not just about knowing English, it is about how naturally and smoothly you use it.
And small habits like overthinking and wrong word combinations can completely change how your English sounds.
But don't worry, because in the next part, we are going to fix even deeper mistakes that affect your tone, your clarity, and your confidence.
And these are the mistakes that separate average speakers from truly fluent speakers.
So stay focused, because your English is about to reach the next level.
And trust me, once you fix these, people will start taking your English seriously.
Now we are moving to a deeper level where your English is not just about words and grammar. It is about how you sound, how you express yourself, and how people feel when they listen to you.
Yes, because at this stage, even if your sentences are correct, the wrong tone or structure can still make your English sound strange or less confident.
The seventh mistake that makes your English sound boring and unnatural is repeating the same sentence structure in every line.
This usually happens when learners feel safe using one pattern, so they keep using it again and again without variation.
For example, a learner might say, I think this is good, I think this is important, I think this is useful.
This repetition makes your speech sound mechanical and less engaging.
A more natural way is to vary your structure, like saying, I think this is good, it also seems very useful, and honestly, it really matters.
Now the sentence feels alive and more natural.
Another example is always starting with I am, like I am going, I am thinking, I am feeling.
You can vary it by saying I'm going, I feel like, or it seems to me.
The goal is not to sound complicated, but to sound flexible.
Because natural speakers don't repeat one structure again and again, they mix things without even thinking.
The eighth mistake that makes your English sound stiff and unnatural is not using contractions while speaking.
Contractions are short forms like I'm, your, it's, and don't, and they are extremely important in real conversations.
Many learners say, I'm going to call you, which is correct but sounds slightly formal in casual speech.
A native speaker would naturally say, I'm going to call you.
Another example is do not worry.
In real conversation, this becomes don't worry.
When you avoid contractions, your English starts sounding like a written paragraph instead of a real conversation.
And this creates distance between you and the listener.
Contractions make your speech faster, smoother, and more natural.
And they also help you sound more confident because your sentences flow better.
So if you want to sound natural, start using contractions in your daily speaking practice.
At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but very quickly it will become automatic.
So now you understand that natural English is not just about what you say, but how you say it.
And small changes like sentence variation and contractions can completely transform your speaking style.
But we are not done yet, because in the next part, we are going to uncover mistakes that affect your clarity and how easily people understand you.
And these are the mistakes that can either make your communication powerful or completely confusing.
So stay with us, because your English is getting sharper with every step.
And the next part is where things become even more interesting.
Now we are entering a very important stage where your English might be grammatically correct and even fluent, but still creates confusion because your message is not clear.
Yes, and this is dangerous, because sometimes people will not tell you that they are confused, they will just misunderstand you silently.
The ninth mistake that makes your English sound weird is using words that are technically correct but do not fit the situation.
This usually happens when learners translate vocabulary without understanding the exact context.
For example, many learners say, I am finding my keys when they actually mean they are searching right now.
The natural sentence is, I'm looking for my keys, because find means you already got them, while look for means you are still searching.
Another example is, I'm seeing a movie tonight.
While this is sometimes acceptable, the more natural everyday expression is, I am watching a movie tonight.
One more example is, he is my cousin brother.
In natural English, you simply say, he is my cousin.
So the issue is not vocabulary, it is choosing the right word for the right situation.
And this is what separates basic English from natural English.
The 10th mistake that makes your English sound confusing is trying to speak in very long and complicated sentences.
Many learners believe that longer sentences mean better English, but in reality, it often creates confusion.
For example, a learner might say, yesterday when I was going to the market where I usually go for buying vegetables which are fresh and affordable, I met my friend.
This sentence is too long, and the listener has to work hard to understand it.
A more natural way is to break it into smaller parts like, yesterday, I went to the market. I usually buy fresh vegetables there. I met my friend.
Now the message is clear, simple, and easy to follow.
Short sentences create better communication than long, complicated ones.
And even native speakers prefer clarity over complexity in daily conversation.
So if you want your English to sound natural, stop trying to impress people with long sentences.
Instead, focus on making your message clear and easy to understand.
So now you can see that sounding natural in English is not about using big words or long sentences. It is about choosing the right words and expressing them clearly.
And once you fix this, people will understand you faster and respond to you more naturally.
But we are still not done, because in the next part, we are going to fix mistakes that affect your confidence and how powerful your English sounds.
And these mistakes are the reason why some people sound weak even when they know English very well.
So stay with us, because your transformation is getting stronger step by step.
And the next part will take your speaking to another level.
Now we are entering the stage where your English is not just about being correct or clear, it is about sounding confident, strong, and impactful in real conversations.
Yes, because at this level, even small speaking habits can make you sound either powerful or weak, even if your English knowledge is the same.
The 11th mistake that makes your English sound weak and unprofessional is using too many fillers while speaking.
Fillers are words like, like, you know, and when you use them too much, your speech loses strength.
For example, a learner might say, I think, we should, go there.
This makes your sentence sound unsure and unconfident.
A stronger version would be, I think we should go there.
Short, clear, and confident.
Fillers are not completely bad. Even native speakers use them sometimes.
But overusing them creates hesitation and breaks your flow.
The solution is to replace fillers with short pauses.
A small pause sounds more confident than unnecessary words.
Practice speaking slowly and clearly instead of filling silence with random sounds.
Because confidence is not about speaking fast, it is about speaking clearly.
The 12th mistake that makes your English sound strange is ending your sentences without confidence, as if you are not sure about what you are saying.
This often happens when your voice goes down too much or your tone sounds like a question even when you are making a statement.
For example, a learner might say, I finished my work, with a rising tone.
This sounds like a question instead of a confident statement.
A natural and confident way is, I finished my work.
Clear, stable, and strong.
Another example is saying, maybe we can go there, in a very unsure tone.
You can make it stronger by saying, we can go there, or let's go there.
Your tone matters as much as your words.
Because people don't just listen to what you say, they feel how you say it.
So if your tone sounds unsure, your message becomes weak.
But if your tone is clear and steady, your English sounds confident and natural.
So now you understand that confidence in English is not just about vocabulary or grammar, it is about how you deliver your message.
And small habits like fillers and weak endings can completely change how people perceive your speaking.
But we are still not done, because in the next part, we are going to fix mistakes that affect your natural flow in real conversations.
And these are the mistakes that stop you from sounding like a real English speaker.
So stay with us, because your English is becoming more powerful with every step.
And the next part will bring you even closer to natural fluency.
Now we are reaching a level where your English may already be correct, clear, and even confident, but still does not feel completely natural in real conversations.
Yes, because natural English is not just about sentences, it is about connection, reaction, and flow between people.
The 13th mistake that makes your English sound weird is not reacting naturally when someone speaks to you.
Many learners focus so much on their own sentences that they forget to respond like a real listener.
For example, if someone tells you, I got a new job, and you simply say, okay, it feels cold and unnatural.
A native speaker would react with something like, that's great, or congratulations, that's awesome.
Another example is when someone shares a problem and you respond with a neutral sentence like, I understand.
A more natural response would be, oh no, that sounds tough, or that must be difficult.
These small reactions make conversations feel alive.
Without them, your English sounds robotic and disconnected.
So speaking English is not just about giving information.
It is about showing emotion and engagement in real time.
The 14th mistake that makes your English sound broken is not using linking words while speaking.
Linking words are simple connectors like and, but, so, because, and then.
Many learners speak in separate sentences like, I went to the market, I bought vegetables, I came home.
While this is correct, it sounds disconnected and unnatural.
A more natural version is, I went to the market and I bought some vegetables, then I came home.
Now the sentence flows smoothly like real conversation.
Another example is, I was tired, I did not go out.
A native speaker would say, I was tired, so I didn't go out.
Linking words create rhythm and connection in your speech.
Without them, your English feels like a list instead of a conversation.
So if you want to sound natural, start connecting your ideas.
Even simple words can make a big difference.
So now you understand that natural English is not just about what you say, but how you connect ideas and react to others.
And these small conversational habits are what make you sound like a real speaker instead of a learner.
But we are not done yet, because in the next part, we are going to fix mistakes that affect your natural expression and personality in English.
And these are the mistakes that stop you from sounding like yourself when you speak English.
So stay with us, because your English is about to feel more real than ever.
And the next part will take you even closer to sounding completely natural.
Now we are entering a very powerful stage where your English is not just correct, fluent, or clear, but it actually starts reflecting your personality and your natural way of speaking.
Yes, because many learners reach a level where they can speak English, but they still sound flat, emotionless, or too generic.
The 15th mistake that makes your English sound weird is speaking without emotion, as if you are just reading information instead of expressing real thoughts.
This usually happens when learners focus too much on correctness and forget to express feeling.
For example, a learner might say, I am happy to see you in a completely flat tone.
Even though the sentence is correct, it does not feel real.
A more natural way is to say it with feeling, like, I'm really happy to see you.
The words are simple, but the emotion makes it natural.
Another example is saying, this movie is good in a neutral tone.
A more expressive version is, this movie is amazing, or I really enjoyed this movie.
Emotion brings life into your English.
Without emotion, your speech sounds robotic and disconnected.
So do not be afraid to show excitement, surprise, or interest when you speak.
Because natural English is not just language, it is expression.
The 16th mistake that makes your English sound boring is not sharing your personal opinion.
Many learners only give neutral information instead of adding their own thoughts.
For example, a learner might say, the food was good.
This is correct, but it feels incomplete and uninteresting.
A more natural way is, I think the food was really good, or honestly, I love the food.
Now it sounds more personal and engaging.
Another example is, this place is nice.
A better version is, I really like this place, or I think this place is beautiful.
Adding your opinion makes your English sound real.
Because real conversations are full of personal thoughts, not just facts.
So if you want to sound natural, start expressing what you feel and think.
That is what makes your English unique and interesting.
So now you can clearly see that natural English is not just about speaking correctly, it is about sounding alive, expressive, and personal.
And once you add emotion and opinion, your English immediately feels more human and less mechanical.
But we are still not finished because in the next part, we are going to fix the final mistakes that stop you from sounding completely fluent.
And these are the mistakes that most learners never fix.
So stay with us because your final transformation is very close.
And the next part will take you to the final level of natural English.
Now we are very close to the final level where your English is already strong, but still there are small habits that stop you from sounding completely natural and effortless.
Yes, and these are the mistakes that even intermediate and advanced learners make without realizing because they are not about grammar anymore, they are about fluency behavior.
The 17th mistake that makes your English sound unnatural is stopping after every single sentence, as if each sentence is a separate island.
This happens when learners treat speaking like writing, where every sentence is finished, paused, and separated.
For example, a learner might say, I went to the market, I bought vegetables, I came back home, I was tired.
While this is correct, it sounds very broken and unnatural in spoken English.
A more natural version is, I went to the market, bought some vegetables, and came back home because I was tired.
Now the ideas are connected and the speech flows smoothly.
Real spoken English is not a list of sentences.
It is a continuous flow of connected ideas.
So instead of stopping after every sentence, try to link your thoughts naturally.
This is what makes your English sound like real conversation instead of a textbook.
The 18th mistake that makes your English sound weird is focusing too much on grammar while speaking in real time.
Many learners try to mentally check every sentence before speaking, and this destroys fluency completely.
For example, instead of saying something naturally, they pause and think, is this tense correct? Is this sentence right?
And by the time they finish thinking, the natural flow is already gone.
Native speakers do not think about grammar rules while speaking.
They focus on meaning, not structure.
A more natural mindset is, I want to express this idea, not I must build a perfect sentence.
When you focus on meaning, your brain automatically chooses simple and correct structures.
But when you focus on rules, your speech becomes slow, hesitant, and unnatural.
So the real secret of fluency is not perfection, it is communication.
Speak first, improve later.
Because fluency comes from flow, not from overthinking.
So now you are very close to understanding what natural English really is.
It is not perfect grammar, not big vocabulary, and not long sentences.
It is flow, confidence, emotion, and connection.
And once you remove these final mistakes, your English starts sounding smooth and real.
But now we are ready for the final conclusion, where everything comes together.
And in the last part, we will summarize your transformation and show you how to keep improving every day.
Now we have reached the final part of this journey, and if you have followed every section carefully, you should already feel a big shift in how you understand natural English.
Yes, because the goal of this video was never just to teach you rules, it was to change the way you think, speak, and express yourself in English.
Let's quickly summarize what you have learned.
You learned that English sounds weird when you translate directly instead of thinking in English.
You also saw that overusing simple words like very makes your English sound basic and weak.
You discovered that wrong prepositions and unnatural word combinations can silently break your fluency.
You understood that speaking too slowly, overthinking, and using fillers reduces your confidence.
And you learned that real English is not about long, complicated sentences, but about clear and natural communication.
But the most important lesson is this.
Natural English is not something you memorize, it is something you develop through habits.
You don't become fluent by learning everything.
You become fluent by fixing small mistakes consistently and speaking regularly without fear.
So now the question is not, do you understand English?
The real question is, can you use English naturally in real life without thinking too much?
Because fluency is not about perfection.
Fluency is about flow.
It is about expressing your thoughts without stopping every second.
It is about sounding natural even if your English is not perfect.
And if you apply even a few of these fixes in your daily speaking, you will notice a real difference in your confidence and clarity.
People will start understanding you better, and you will start feeling more comfortable while speaking.
So don't try to remember everything at once,
Just focus on improving one mistake at a time.
because small improvements in speaking create big changes over time.
And that is how real fluency is built.
If this video helped you understand your mistakes, then the next step is simple.
Practice daily, speak without fear, and focus on natural English, not perfect English.
And remember this,
You are not learning English to pass a test.
you are learning English to express yourself in the real world.
So speak naturally, speak confidently, and keep improving every day.
This is not the end of your journey.
This is the beginning of your real English speaking transformation.